congrats to T1W Esports. We will be starting things off here on Lijiang Tower. And Guangzhou, let's see what they're able to put together off the rip, as we are going to see this fight happening just in between these giant statues. And a lot of just aggressive play as Guangzhou just wants the challenge up front. And you can see the overhead perspective, a lot of low health pools. No one falling yet. Nero in a lot of trouble. A nice little pushback that will keep him alive. And we are going to just kind of reset this fight, get him back to full HP, and try again.
Yeah, and this is what we know and love here on Night Market, rather. Lijiang Tower is home to the GOATs here. Long fights, especially here in Guangzhou Academy, just assessing the situation, getting the resources up as they re-engage the fight.
Okay, well, Rise able to find one movie with another, so now all of a sudden there's numbers as well. The Lucky Future did have the point for a small time. They'll try to stagger it for as long as possible, but that won't be for very long. Good body blocks in the doorway as well, just to keep the Lucio. But oh, actually, Recall able to find one sound wave pushing Rise off. That will just be a mere inconvenience, though, for Guangzhou. They still have full control of the point, and there are still 5 members here to zone out any potential pushes.
Yeah, you're only floating if there's ground beneath you, Zenyatta. Very unfortunate stuff. But yeah, Lucky Future took that, took the point first, but the 17% got completely flopped back on their heads. Guangzhou Academy with a veteran move, just getting the resources back underneath their feet. Rally to start off this fight very early on here from Guangzhou.
And they're going to start things off with the Graviton Surge as well. Can they follow up with it? Self-destruct does come in, but it's a little bit late. Although, look at this spread from Lucky Future. You saw the Zenyatta having to back away just to keep the backline healthy with the Transcendence. Now it just comes down to seeing what else can be done here, and it looks like Guangzhou just, again, pushing forward. Tizzy's able to find himself 3. It only costs a mech for Guangzhou, and that'll be enough to push them back and likely get above to about the 60% mark before it gets contested again. And
some might argue that Guangzhou Academy had to use a plethora of ultimates just to sustain in the middle of the fight, but they got a lot out of Lucky Future as well.
Yeah.
Lucky Future, on the other hand, Mellow, they're going to be able to get this bigger bang combination with a self-destruct coming out from their Diva, and an Earthshatter to back that up too, so that's why Guangzhou Academy, they're not taking chances, they're backing up. They're caught in the grab.
Yeah, and this is actually a really good start as well. As you saw, it was actually MG taken down quickly, not able to fully get that mech back, so Mellow's able to put down a Graviton Surge for free, and that will spell the success to swing this point back, but it's not before 70%, probably plus that, will actually be captured. So you're not exactly mad about this if you're Guangzhou. You didn't really use much in terms of it, and Lucky Future obviously had to drop in a little bit more than I'm sure they would have liked to, but still the point transitioned pretty much for free. Now it comes out to see what Guangzhou can do in the break.
This is the 3D chest that GOATS ends up bringing out to this the battlefield, right? It's 75% for Guangzhou Academy. This is the bottleneck. They have the bigger bang combo themselves coming online. No, they don't have the self-destruct, but they have the Graviton Surge, and they're already throwing it out. Mui sees it in sight.
Lucky Future, though, able to hit a Transcendence right in the middle, keeping everybody nice and healthy, and actually back to full HP is the full team from Lucky Future. So now all of a sudden, a chance to reset and maybe swing this back in their favor. Recall's very close to potentially having the sound barrier for that second surge through this fight. Also 1,000. Does also have an Earth Shatter. We'll see what he's able to utilize here. But again, just really good zone here from Lucky Future as Guangzhou not quite able to fully commit. They're able to go out to Graviton Surge on top, one of those lion statues, but the health pools just are not going down fast enough as Transcendence and a Sound Barrier will be used, one for each team. And you said it, nice block indeed. It will still be both Reinhardt's falling. So it just comes down to me of who can find the secure damage. It looks like Lucky Future will be the ones to get that going as Mellow is just holding W and getting a lot of secured kills. That'll be enough for Lucky Future to hold on to the point once again.
Last fight territory here. Whoever's going to win this last fight might as well take our first stage here on Lijiang Tower. Shift is getting absolutely devastating. Guangzhou Academy just hesitant. They didn't press the gas pedal when they needed to in that last fight when it started breaking out over in the Lions Courtyard area. Now Guangzhou Academy find themselves kind of scattering. They're going to have their own Graviton Surge to kind of fight off this point area. We have double rallies to initiate the fight. Sound Barrier to back up Guangzhou.
Yeah, and look at this. It's actually a very quick Transcendence as well. But he was able to put down the Graviton Surge, and a lot were knocked out as well. A big shatter coming out of Tizzy, but there's just no eliminations in the backside of this Panda. So again, Lucky Future with overtime in effect. They actually, wait a second, the point gets flipped. They were fighting so far off that Guangzhou was able to actually come back through, change the point in their favor right as overtime was going through, and now all of a sudden, they are finding the eliminations. So talk about your good old-fashioned backfires. As Lucky Future wanted to fight off the point, Guangzhou says, sure, we'll flip it, and we'll put ourselves up to 90+%.
MG with the veteran move going and getting the caps started while the rest of the fight was being taken out on the courtyard area. 98% here. Lucky Future, they need a scatter to try to get to the point. They're actually going to be sending their Diva through the window. Didn't get there in time.
Wow. It's a little bit unfortunate. It was desperate times calling for desperate measures. But Lucky Future, again, opted to fight off the point. That was a decision that comes to quite literally bite them right back as they do find that point getting swung back around. So Panda, I mean, first reactions. This is the first good look we really get at both of these teams, and a lot kind of thrown in the air so far.
I kind of feel bad in a way too, because we were kind of like tossing up Chinese Contenders to be like this fantastic fireball in a glass bottle, just waiting to combust with all these crazy compositions. But then they just run 3-3 on our first stage of Lijiang Tower, and what we got to see was just real veteran play coming across from both these teams. You would not believe, if you go back and you look at how we can talk about Sense and Mellow, how they came from a team named Laboratory.
Yeah,
you look at the record last season, does not really show how good of a job they brought it to Guangzhou Academy. Guangzhou Academy, like I said, they have their hands full. Now loading into Gardens. This is something that seems a little bit more familiar. Solo tank here for Lucky Future with the Mercy flying in the sky for MZ. And this is could get a little explosive for Guangzhou Academy. They're just holding off here in this mini pack area, waiting to see how they're even going to get to this point.
This is actually a really good transition, though, as far as where you position yourself. You essentially force MZ to peek a little bit more aggressively than he'd like to on the far. And actually, look at this. Guangzhou will actually get the point first. So now it just comes down to avoiding those lines of sight. Force somebody from Lucky Future to come contest you rather than going to contest the fight outside. As Lucky Future, again, we already see a little bit of a mishap when it came to trying to fight outside of the point. Guangzhou doing a pretty decent job. And nice concussive blast cut, able to push him forward.
Fantastic.
And MZ, he's really good with this far. We've seen it time and time again. He finds a double off the barrage plus the full elimination onto MG. This is just full-on cleanup from here. Lucky Future will likely swing the point before it hits the 30% mark for Guangzhou.
It's one thing to assess the situation and say that Pharah is an indirect counter to a heavy tank composition like Goats, but it was more just how long the fight lasted, that Guangzhou didn't have the resources to sustain the defense matrix, the shielding, the healing available to deal with the Pharah when the inevitable rocket barrage was coming out. And now this is even more devastating. Even though Guangzhou did get 28%, fantastic direct rocket coming up from there. He's not playing games anymore.
Nero literally coming to battle saying, anything you can do, I can also do, and likely will be able to do it better, as he does have so much experience behind him. The point nearly completely flipped, but it will be the Wrecking Ball of 1,000 coming back through. The EMP also being utilized for Lucky Future, and they're able to at least find Tizzy. So without that main tank being there, Winston being down, how long can Guangzhou Academy really contest? Sentry is able to actually find, though, a very fortunate res onto Tizzy. The minefield able to come back through, but oh my goodness, this is actually a devastating minefield, and now a self-destruct. So much explosion happening, and it's going to be enough for Sentry plus the mech of MG. Guangzhou not able to quite get through.
Sentry try to take refuge down there with the digital fishes in the garden here on Lijiang Tower. Not a safe place indeed. So now we are back on board with a few more ultimates. Guangzhou Academy are going to be able to enter this fight with a few ultimates, but you need the bodies to do so. Mellow is finding a lot of value in the Sombra, and MC again finding another pick. Narrow. One resurrection ain't enough, Sentry.
Yeah, and that's the thing, is he uses the resurrection just on his other support in the Zenyatta of Rise. So again, without the damage output being here for Guangzhou, can you really even get all the way in? Mellow finding a lot of free farm on that EMP. The SMG ringing out into the face of the front line of Guangzhou before he was able to translocate away. And look at this, again, free line of sight for MZ. He already has a barrage. Now he's retraining his aim up to Nero. And oh my goodness, that last shot was so close. They're trading rockets back and forth. Both Mercies doing whatever they possibly can to keep him healthy. But meanwhile, the point is up to 95% here, Panda.
Yeah, the inching even closer to Guangzhou, are just waiting for the moment to pounce, and it's going to be Mui's EMP that does it.
Yeah, and Tizzy is able to follow up just behind and able to cleave through both of the support lines. So Guangzhou just in the nick of time, able to come back in. MZ will try to get away, catches the Mega Pack, but he's going to have to, again, continue to push himself back forward. There's no frontliners here to peel any damage away, so it will be Guangzhou getting some percentage. But again, it's not after Lucky Future, able to find 99%.
Yeah, and this is very, very difficult basis here for Guangzhou. They know their win condition. They have to hold off here for a few more fights so that way they can take this win on our first map of Control. Lucky Future, however, they have the tools to combat this hold that Guangzhou are trying to set themselves up with. Mello has the EMP especially. If Mello can find Rise in this EMP, it's going to be lights out for Guangzhou Academy.
And it's not just Mello being able to find the EMP. He actually was nearly able to escape all the miniguns coming out of MG. So the act comes through as he translocates in. Barrage follows up. Nero drops. Tizzy, though, has found Synth. That's a big pick. There's no Transcendence here for Lucky Future. So can they survive all these ultimates that are flying in for Guangzhou? We will see a res onto Nero. MZ doing whatever he can to keep the damage into the correct targets, and that is going to be MG's mech. And then immediately follows up with the Pilot Diva as well. Guangzhou I don't know if they're going to have enough steam in the engine here to push this one all the way through. They will have some time to play with it. Oh, Mellow with the very last second translocate just to get out of dodge at the last second. But again, everybody else is following a desperate barrage from Nero. He gets hacked in the midway through and he gets taken down. Lucky Future have the numbers, and overtime will surely fall away here as soon as they can track down the last couple of players.
There's a really good EMP coming from Mellow to wrap up this fight and to set up the circumstance. And all things considering, really caught the rest of the team of Guangzhou without their shoes on here. At the point, they couldn't get all the benefits from the Transcendence that Rise ended up putting out in the middle of that fight. Tizzy, even though in the Primal Rage, got re-hacked, could not even leap around. It's not where you want to be as a main tank. 1,000 HP goes by pretty quickly when you have quite a few high caliber DPS players just layering in damage into you. So now we're going back over into a more enclosed area. Nothing flying in the sky, no Pharahs, no Genjis, no dashes coming out of this map. Just going back to the tried and true, a little bit of triple support action. Mellow, it has a little bit of a different writing for this book. It's going to be flexing onto that Mei. Could be very powerful.
I was about to say.
It can split apart the 3-3 composition that Guangzhou have been flexing on, especially in the early going of this map. And they have to be ready for it as well. You have to be heavily grouped together, and this is where their communication is going to be tested.
Yeah, I would say Mei could be a big impact here as Mellow will drop an Ice Wall very quickly. Trying to split the team up as much as possible of Guangzhou, but not going to be able to do it quite at the beginning. So we'll wait for that cooldown to try again. That seems to be what Lucky Future is waiting on. Is this Mei to possibly start things off for them, taking the high ground? So good vantage point. There's a good wall. Blocks his Zenyatta for a small moment, but no real big follow-up as of yet. Trying to find the frontliner of this Reinhardt, but Tizzy, he actually will be dropped away, but it comes at the cost of the Mei. So can they sustain through this? Again, there's no big shield here. So it comes down to, can you actually find the good target prioritization? And Guangzhou will actually catch MZ out as well. So now they have numbers. All of a sudden, the other rider of Lucky Future in 1,000 starts to look pretty juicy, but a Transcendence immediately comes through, and we will be getting a full 6-on-6 as soon as the respawns come back.
And Tizzy's back, so this is a full 6-on-6 combatant, and they're backing up too. The Transcendence was too early since just sustaining that fight for too long, and now the self-destruct comes out from MG.
The block it though was 1,000, so Lucky Future not out of it. Yeah, but Mellow falls again. The point does open up in front of Guangzhou, and they're able to actually find pretty decent Graviton surges. You see the kill feed rocking all white very quickly. Nero and Rise combining for 4 of the 5, and Guangzhou is finally will get themselves that secured point that they were looking for off the rip.
And that's why I said it was too early, since put out that Transcendence just to sustain as many members as they possibly could to try to find as much coverage, but you have to get at least 1 or 2 eliminations with that Transcendence if you're going to pull out aggressively and not have it ready for the inevitable Graviton Surge that Guangzhou Academy were willing to throw into the capitalize and capture the point. Lucky Future didn't have a second support ultimate available.
Graviton Surge will be used now for Lucky Future, try to turn things around, and that's a very quick split. The Ice Wall was good to split apart 3 and 3. Now it just comes down to Rose trying to move on forward. We'll help out with Mui, and we'll actually get the D-Mech as well, so this will be a flip surely for Lucky Future. But they did have to use, again, that Graviton Surge plus Shatter. So Mellow, who's been very quiet lately, this is where you really want to see this Mei start to shine here, Panda.
It's really slow to get this Blizzard as well, so this is where this wall is going to be very, very difficult. So this is why you see the entire team, Guangzhou Academy, just being methodical with how they are going to be pressing the advantage, pushing through these small choke points as they roll out a spawn. And yep, there you go. Just hop through as a team. That's one of the benefits of the speed boost. They make it through as 6. So now it's all about the rotations. Now, how do you find the benefits of said rotation? You get charged over to your Zarya, and you're going to be able to just melt through any sort of front line, and Lucky Future just hopes to hold, but they have to be careful. This Blizzard, MG needs to be aware and try to eat this.
Yeah, Tizzy though, again, he's got a Shatter and he lets it rip, finds 2. Mellow very low, but a really clutch timing out of the sound barrier for Lucky Future. Guangzhou able to use one of their own, but it comes down to what other support ultimates are, because Tizzy has also dropped away. Now both Transcendences using at the same exact time. No one's able to get booped away into self-destruct land, but the Blizzard will make things just a little bit chilly, and looks like Lucky Future in the back end of that will finally be able to clean things up. But goodness, you talk about just clutch timing coming out of recall. He's able to save about 3 different players, as it was a really good opening from Tizzy, with a sound barrier too strong on the re-engage.
That sound barrier was more than clutch. That was legendary, and Lucky Future give themselves almost a last fight scenario. How long these fights have been lasting with the Mei and triple support, regardless, this might as well be last fight. Again, making a buy at the skin of their teeth, just almost getting clipped by that Ice Wall. Guangzhou Academy are going to try to assault this with the rally backing themselves up.
Graviton Surges used, and a lot of low health pools, and then once again, Lucky Future able to cleave on in. 1000 is doing so much work, just slapping the hammer. Slapping the hammer, man! Able to find himself so much, and that's, again, like you mentioned, near last fight territory, but more importantly is he still have an Earthshatter plus a rally online, so this is going to be a very healthy Lucky Future team to try to break through if you're Guangzhou.
And this is why Lucky Future are holding so close, but take a look at MG, the veteran player. They know, they go and see the Diva player in the spawn, able to touch and proc overtime, unable to get the Mega Pack, though. That is so devastating. Guangzhou, can you even make it back to the point just in time?
Sentry will actually catch an armor pack to keep him alive halfway through, and then once again, you did hear it come down. 1000 dropping the hammer for the Earthshatter. Transcendence is here, but is it just a mere inconvenience and delay of time, as you see the Graviton Surge is already used for Mui and doesn't find anything. Able to find not only one, but count it, 2 support. Sentry also taking a lot of damage trying to wall ride. He will essentially just get a sound barrier down and 2. Blizzard used to zone things away for a small time, but Sentry's doing a really good job actually of staying alive. MG does fall, but there's Tizzy, and that will be it. Lucky Future will finally clean up the point, and we'll be seeing ourselves with Lucky Future coming up strong after a back end of a couple of great support plays. Panda, consider me impressed.
Living up to the grand name that is Lucky Future. You take yourselves all the way back to Contender Season 2. We had a team, Lucky Future Zenith, that was once dominant, now just Lucky Future, and you can see why. I mean, you have a lot of backing for this team as a whole, with Sins and Mello included. When you have that backline communication and the trustworthy that is 3-3, that's where you see them shining through. Compose, support ultimates all the way through the end of Control Center, enabling the rest of the front line, able to take Guangzhou for a crazy ride. I mean, let's not kid ourselves here. I mean, against MG and against Tizzy, those are 2 fantastic tanks within their own right. MG has been touched on top of Overwatch League standards, as well as has Tizzy with the London Spitfire and the Shanghai Dragons, respectively. But able to take them for a crazy ride in a tank-heavy matchup like that, Lucky Future are firing off on all cylinders today.
They're putting people on notice. I mean, this Guangzhou Academy team is loaded. That's probably the most polite way of saying it. This team is absolutely loaded. Like we mentioned, a number of two-way players, but you're also dealing with Sentry, who played for Team CC, who was a top 2 team in the last part of 2018 for Chinese Contenders. I mean, there's just so many players to mention. I mean, again, like you said, Rise is one of those players that has done Korean and North American Contenders. And, you know, I would say that if a lot of people were looking at the roster side by side, you'd be looking at a situation where, okay, you'd be thinking that, yeah, this will probably be a Guangzhou Academy. We'll be able to run away with this one, but Lucky Future says not so fast. We're here to play as well, which is what you want to see in the first week of Chinese Contenders.
That's why you don't ask for predictions on week 1 standards, because on paper, it's all just words until you get to see that sweet, juicy action that is GOATs. And I'm just kidding. I mean, like, honestly, like, when it comes down to is just a well-versed region just becoming more poised with how they play Overwatch. We once saw this region just completely just divert very far from the meta, even in games on our first day as well. And you can get a couple highlights to back up just this fantastic team play as we were on board with Recall. I mean, we talk about all these sound barriers, but the Lucio is able to just stall out the points and really set up all these clutch plays, especially with those Earth Shatters, is really how you see these compositions come to life.
So we've talked a lot about the support line, but talk to me more about this front line, because we didn't really say much about either 1000 or Roses in specific. So, I mean, things that you're noticing off the bat between the Reinhardt matchup and, of course, the 2 divas in the mix.
Well, let's put it this way. I mean, a good diva doesn't show up in the kill feed all the time. Sure, you can have those bigger bang combos, but that's normally set up by your Reinhardt. And your Reinhardt, in a way, when it comes down to the way that 3-3 is going to be played out, it's kind of regarded as a super Reinhardt composition that you have to be setting yourself up in that regard for a heavy air shatter or a stronger front line, in the way that the entire front line and the entire tank line of Lucky Future are playing together are just so well coordinated. Like I said, a well-oiled machine.
Well, it's a good start for Lucky Future. They take the control up 1 map to nothing. We'll be back just after this short break to catch you with map number 2. Don't go anywhere. Well, everybody, welcome back. IHOLDSHIFT, PkMnPanda, and we are again bringing you live, well, not live, it's a little bit delayed coverage of the Chinese Contenders. A little bit of a delayed broadcast as we were kind of dealing with some tech issues at our end, but big props and shout outs to all those that have been making this broadcast possible to bring you guys the coverage once again. It's a pleasure to have you with you. We are looking at Lucky Future. Up 1-0. We'll be going to Kings Row, and Panda, we expect off the first stage, at least of this map, to be seeing something likely similar, at least defensively, with the 3-3, but it looks like Lucky Future has something else in mind.
A little something different, yeah. Something we got to see a little bit back on our map, especially on Gardens for Lijiang Tower, especially where we got to see them get their edge. The solo tank composition, 1,000. This main tank, I have my eyes set on you. This hamster play is absolutely fantastic. Sets up all the CPS. A very corralled composition. You see MZ reaping the benefits.
Yeah, okay. We'll take 2 of those. Call me in the morning as he finds not only 1, but 2 supports. Mello able to find 1 as well. Really will take down 1, but that's a mere consolation at this point in time as you'll see MG get DMAC'd and immediately obliterated off the face of the earth. Lucky Future coming out a little bit unconventional for the first stage on Kings Row and will find themselves a very quick capture.
Much like the May variation of the triple support composition that we saw Lucky Future run on Control Center, this is where Guangzhou Academy are really struggling when they're running against a composition that disrupts the entire triple tank, triple support composition. That's where you have the hacks coming through from Synths, and then you have the direct rockets coming through from MZ. He is definitely capable. We have seen it so far in that early control map, and when you are corralled in those small areas where a Tracer or a Widowmaker can pick up on that damage, doesn't have to be a pretty headshot. Sometimes a 100 charge Widow's Kiss body shot is just enough to take out that Zenyatta, and that's all you need to push the advantage for Lucky Future.
Let's see, MZ will set himself up for a barrage, able to take down Rise, so he will just drop away, but it comes at a very steep cost. And that looks like that will be Lucky Future steamrolling through, actually, as you see 1,000 able to dive on in, finds himself 2. Sentry will be able to trade out 1, but it comes at the cost of his life as well. Lucky Future putting everybody on notice with this very unconventional start to a strategy, but it's working on, like we mentioned, on all cylinders. This is looking really smooth so far for Lucky Future.
Not exactly a map that we're used to seeing it on, regardless. Even Recall getting on the board there at the end of the Valkyrie, getting a nice little Glock kill. Mercy to battle it. Well, that's exactly what I'm talking about. You saw Lucky Future immediately.
Call it a Glock.
MZ was able to get the barrage, found Rise, and then the rest of Guangzhou even faltered all underneath it. Even though 1,000 went down, it didn't matter.
Okay, Synth's able to start things off with the EMP, but the rest of the team wasn't quite there. At least fortunately, Roses is able to track down Rise. We'll take him down with the headshot, but was it worth the EMP? That's yet to be determined, as now driving on in was attempted to dive on in was Tizzy, but he plans right into a minefield. They wanted to contest, but a really good placement of the minefield from 1,000 as he actually is able to find a grapple kill as Mui makes this desperate swap to McCree just to try to deal with MZ, and there's just no response so far from Guangzhou.
5:25 is what I believe the clock hit there as they cap on the second point. Guangzhou Academy are just scattered. You need to be eliminated here, MG. We all need to regroup. Guangzhou Academy need to assess what they have. And Mui is actually going over to the Widowmaker, trying to combat it against everything that Lucky Future has. Lucky Future is more than willing to take that fight to them as well, as Synths gives up the reins. DPS goes back over to Zenyatta. Mello back over to the Zarya. Gonna be cycling maybe a couple of these DPS ultimates here as we see Lucky Future slowly yet surely transition over to this triple tanks, triple support composition. But Guangzhou, they're just scattered. They have these ultimates, but they just need to get control of the payload.
That's a really good find, though, for MG to take down Synths. But again, you can see the front line is just doing so much work for Lucky Future as they push on in. 1,000 has been so impressive on this wrecking ball. Drops down 1 more, but MG able to pick up 3. No shields. That's the biggest downside for Lucky Future in this composition. So if you're able to thread a little bit of a needle, which MG was, he does pick up the triple kill on the self-destruct sequence. Looks like Lucky Future have had their fun. They'll switch back to something a little bit more standard to try to push this the rest of the way home.
Yes, hello there, MG. We see you. Fantastic bomb. Shield bash coming through just to trap Mello in place. Only barrier that was left around, but Lucky Future will complete the 3-3 puzzle. 60% of this Graviton Surge, the only thing that GZA need to be careful of. Rise probably going to hold on to this Transcendence. Whether or not to use it aggressively would probably not be advising, as Nero uses the rally to initiate with the team.
And if you're GZA, that's all you want to use in this engagement. They already find 1,000 plus MZs, so it looks like that will be all that's used. Again, Lucky Future for the next, well, we'll say at least the next team fight will still be short on ultimates. So essentially they're just looking for the charge. So the faster that Guangzhou can move through and take that opportunity away from them, the more realistic this defense becomes, as again, they're still having to deal with 3 minutes and change.
It's a high efficiency rally right there from Guangzhou. They were able to press the advantage while getting the healing. All the armor will be dissipated here momentarily. Lucky Future will have a brief momentary an opportunity to press the advantage, but they need to be careful because Guangzhou Academy, and besides MG, they're about to have tank ultimates, and that's the scariest part when you're in this 3-3 matchup.
Lucky Future, will they use anything to try to open this fight up, or will we see Guangzhou pull the trigger first? It was Tizzy trying to put down an Earthshatter, won't be able to find anything with it. 1000 does get taken down by Sentry. Transcendence is here, plus the Graviton from Lucky Future, but they're not able to find any eliminations, and now on the back foot, Mui says not so fast as he tries to lock players in with the Graviton Surge, but it was just a bit short. Doesn't make too much of a difference. Guangzhou will still find 2 staggered kills. I would have liked to have pulled in a couple of more, but regardless, Guangzhou holds.
Just a bit outside. Now MG about to have another self-destruct here. You're gonna have to see where that bomb places. 1000 working up to that Earthshatter, probably be setting up Lucky Future for as good as a fight as possible. Maybe combine it with Rose's self-destruct. MZ does have the rally, so they can use that to initiate, where Guangzhou Academy are still working towards their tank ultimates. They have their own rally.
Tizzy is able to find the first, and that's on MZ. 1000 also drops away. So again, Lucky Future, before the fight really even starts, they're taken down again. The rally used preemptively for Guangzhou, and that's going to be enough. Once again, this feels like a little bit of deja vu after that push.
Yeah, it's kind of like one of those fights. MZ popped out the rally, and Guangzhou Academy's like, hey, you got one of those too. You want to see how these two duke it out too? It's like a super powered fight. And Guangzhou Academy just came out on top. These vanilla fights, especially in 3-3 in the small corridor of third. The last part of King's Row is where Guangzhou are finding their footing. Mui has a Graviton Surge and combine it with the raw power that is Tizzy.
And MZ already low will drop away the Sound Barrier just a touch late, and it's not enough. Guangzhou will push their advantage as they found not only the Brigitte, but also both major frontliners in the Reinhardt and the Zarya, plus one more to tote. Recall will find his demise, enjoying the respawn for a time being. But again, it came at a pretty steep cost there, using the Sound Barrier defensively, but not able to keep everybody alive.
It's more than the Sound Barrier shift. 1000 also used the Earthshatter along with that too, and got punished for it heavily. I believe he got shield bash because the animation, the voice line, it didn't even come out from the Reinhardt of Lucky Future. Now Lucky Future are truly going to be scrambling here. They have the Transcendence, going to be able to combat in here, maybe even press forward, but the pick on the Sentry is a good opening.
It sure is. Tizzy will try to counter things with an Earthshatter himself. Won't be able to find it. Up and over comes the self-destruct, and it takes down Mui. Tizzy was just a touch too far away to get that shielded action, and all of a sudden, Lucky Future, with the full team wipe coming through, they'll finally get this payload moving in the right direction again.
And this is exactly what you want. Regardless of the resources needed, Lucky Future able to get control of the cart once again. Now it's just about dealing with these last and final fight. Can Lucky Future complete this map with time remaining?
Oh, nice little play from Sentry to try to separate Lucky Future as much as possible, but Tizzy's the one who's caught out of position.
Oh, big shatter!
And it finds 3 on the low ground. Tizzy and Nero have fallen away. MZ coming through as he's able to try to slap on in with that flail, but it actually will force MG up and over. The self-destruct sequence will find absolutely nothing, and it looks like Lucky Future, they'll clean up the last bit of this fight. It just comes down to controlling the respawns, as there will be a desperate swap for Nero onto the Wrecking Ball. Round and round he goes.
It's an overtime.
How long it will go, no one will sure to be know, as Nero and Tizzy does drop away. No one else quite able to touch. And Lucky Future will finish the map, but as you mentioned, it happens in overtime.
It's in overtime for sure, and that's one of the more devastating things. So now with Guangzhou Academy, they have that extended win condition set in their eyes, right? So if you're able to complete it with more than a minute, then you're going to be able to complete for more than a tick, and that's where you want to be, right? You want to be able to command all of these team fights in such a manner like we saw on that third and last point. But Lucky Future, I mean, they're pulling out with that special composition based around 1000's hamster, and that's very scary. It's very versatile in a way, because we're not seeing I suppose a consistency as far as the quad DPS that they're willing to pick. But most importantly, the way that MZ's finding tons and tons of value on that Pharah, regardless of the composition that Guangzhou is running, they just have no answer for it. And in an opening point that's about to be King's Row point A defense, I can only expect to see something like it.
I mean, I am always just floored by great Wrecking Ball play, because the disruption that that character in itself brings is just astronomically higher than just about everybody else, with the exception of like old Doomfist, who's able to push people around pretty freely. But you add a Tracer into the mix, as well as you mentioned, that big Pharah gameplay, and it's just so much damage coming from so many different angles. It's hard to stay centric and cohesive as a full defensive unit. We saw that kind of falter for Guangzhou. And I mean, again, it was a great start for Lucky Future, but it doesn't come without some question marks near the end there. Again, Panda, it just seemed like they could not finally get an opening footing. It seemed like they were always playing Guangzhou's game rather than trying to play their own until the very end.
One of the scariest things here, and I don't want to sound like a broken record, is tempo. And that's why I keep bringing up card control, because that's what it's all about. And that's what these compositions are really willing to do. And that's why you mentioned the word disruption. And you're probably going to see a little bit more of that. No special composition coming out from the defense of Lucky Future. Just raw 3-3 coming across the board. This Zenyatta variety at that. But it's all about just who can control that tempo first. The resource management is even a part of that, as you see Lucky Future get the upper hand on the shield economy even. And Tizzy, 9% to that Earthshatter. Even compared to thousands, it's not much, but it just shows you how much damage is being focused on that shield.
Oh, Wise able to find an orbital destruction to the face of his counterpart in Synths, but it looked like a good opening for a time. Lucky Future able to respond by taking down the main frontliner as well as the Brigida, plus the D-Mech as well onto MG. And this is another great start for Lucky Future. I mean, imagine a situation where you start to see their 3-3 composition able to rival, but not only that, surpass potentially that of Guangzhou, as that's kind of, at least for me, been a little bit of the negative side so far for Lucky Future, but they're making me eat my words at the moment.
Yeah, that stagger elimination on MG is going to fully allow Lucky Future to regroup as 6 on this defense, since it's fully back. And won that fight without the Discord Orb, and that's what's most impressive. Not Guangzhou Academy with this full reset. Going to see how they kind of initiate against, or kind of disengage against this fight, as the rally's already out.
Okay, an offensive Transcendence coming through for Guangzhou. Can Lucky Future stay sustained throughout this? They have not used any support elements of their own, just the rally. And that armor was appreciated for most players in the field, but they're still waiting for something else to open this up. Point has already found 1 tick of progress, working its way towards the second. It will surely get there, won't it? Just barely won't be able to, actually, as the Diva will touch. Graviton Surge now for Guangzhou. Now we're seeing the Transcendence coming through for Lucky Future, but they're not able to stay alive through it. Yes, it's a lot of healing, Panda, but it will not be able to sustain you through all the damage plus the self-destruct. Guangzhou, MG, triple kill. Learn it, love it. You're going to see a lot of it as we see Guangzhou able to find the first point.
I think collectively all of Lucky Future just turned slightly to the right. They looked Tizzy dead in the eyes. The self-destruct just burned in the sky like a sun. And they were like, oh, man. And the Earthshatter came down, and the bigger bang combo came through. And this is one thing that Guangzhou are definitely going to be bringing to the table with all of that coaching, with all of that backing of their Owl predecessor. This is going to be devastating. But one thing you don't want to have is a spawn camp go awry. You get so close to the sun, it's gonna burn.
I'm a little bit lost in the call there, honestly, for Guangzhou, as they weren't quite able to even be there as a full force. It just looked like it was going to be a split stagger trying to find a kill off the grip, but Lucky Future says, okay, well, if you're going to just contest this with 3, we'll contest you with 6. And typically the numbers win, and so much is the case here with Overwatch as well. So it looks like the payload has at least stalled for a moment, but this comes down to trying to find an even footing here. There's a lot to be used for both teams, at least at the moment.
Yeah, and the rally coming out already for MZ, just trying to find this value in the defense, along with the self-destruct, just a broken shield, and the elimination.
Yeah, but Tizzy had to track his shield behind him, while the rest of the force of Lucky Future could just take free shots at him, essentially just shooting fish in a barrel. And that will be enough to push everybody back. And now a little bit of a spawn camp setup as well for Lucky Future. And it looks like they found a little bit more success in their strategy of it.
A laser in a barrel, more like it here from Mello. Just high energy all the time. And that's what's devastating about losing that fight, especially when the spawn camp got punished there for Guangzhou. And now all the ult charge and the charge being held inside the particle beam cannon for Mello is being so well used. And Lucky Future just will not be moved. They had tank ultimates again. Recall looking for the boop in.
Not going to be able to find anything, though. The Graviton Surge was used first and foremost. Mello able to take down 1. Earthshatter used for 1,000. Won't find anything, though, but it was a good attempt. Tizzy will respond, and he finds everybody! Literally, not a single person would be able to survive this today, as you'll see everyone getting slapped in, and wow, what a counter shatter that was for Tizzy. You can call it fortunate timing if you want. Regardless, he set it up nicely, and GZ8, they'll move on through the second stage with a little bit more success here.
Let's see, we can talk about 1,000, been a standout for a main tank. This is why Tizzy's been making waves as far as main tank in multiple regions at that, coming from London Spitfire in the Overwatch League. And that's exactly why, just strong Reinhardt play. Fantastic return. Earthshatter's already at 70% to the charge, about to have a Graviton Surge here for Moe as well. Guangzhou Academy are just absolute powerhouses, an absolute unit of a team if they don't get punished for silly antics.
Rally being used for Lucky Future. A little shield bash as well on Mui, who will be able to still back up, but it comes at a very steep cost in his health pool department. Fortunately, the support line up to the task, and will meet it with some healing of their own, and we'll essentially get both teams heading back to their respective corners, and they'll go at each other once again right on top of the payload. Mui will put down the Graviton Surge. Is good, but it's actually the self-destruct sequence coming out for Lucky Future first. MG, of course, he found one. Why wouldn't he? Transcendence doesn't seem to make a difference. What's in play? MG still able to find one. That's on the Mellow, and Lucky Future now in desperate strides just to hold on to this. They will use a sound barrier in the effort, but 1,000 very low will be taken down. Since is also very low. He'll also meet his fate, and that will be enough for GZ Academy to find the eliminations and the full completion of second stage.
Yeah, and backed by composed support ultimates, the rally, and the transcendence as well. We get another look at that Earth Shatter. Just it was a 5-man. It's a 5-man.
Okay, MZ survived.
yeah, MZ stays standing. He was reaction with the shield, and he didn't jump, so everybody was safe. And by everybody, I just mean MZ.
MZ looked to his right and said, you guys are all laying down. Let me just try to heal you up by flailing everybody real quick. You could just see like the desperate like anxiety in his face, trying to heal everybody up, but that's
a 3D impression of a failfish in Brigitte form.
Exactly. His Lucky Future will once again use an offensive rally here on the defense, mind you. We're able to at least push back GZ Academy for the time being. And GZ will just, okay, they'll say, all right, we respect it. We'll come back in with a little bit of our own. Mui again with the Graviton Surge. We'll be looking for a little bit of elevation, trying to find something from top of the payload. But as you can see, Mellow very close to a Graviton Surge of his own. He wants to push on forward, gain himself some charge. Only at 75% of that charge. It's not exactly the highest in the world considering the situation.
Wow.
We'll see an Earth Shatter coming through, and it finds a lot. Graviton Surge to follow up. The sound barrier, will it be able to sustain through it? Nope. Not even close. That's at least 4, looking for a 5th. MG will throw out a desperate self-destruct sequence, but it'll find absolutely nothing. MG will likely try to get away with his life. The thrusters should be good enough. Defense Matrix also, yep, he'll be able to tell the tale, but it's not worth one retelling.
Yeah, and just the fireworks there at the end of the self-destruct. Probably wishing to have that bigger bang combo in their pocket. Lucky Future just absolutely deflects that assault there and gets control of the payload. Mellow again, high charge, 50% to another Graviton Surge. Lucky Future here using the rally or pushing the advantage on defense. You would think that they're attacking.
Again, this is time and time again we see our defenders do this. Tizzy, can he set up another massive Earth Shatter? It might be what they need. He's very low on HP though. Transcendence used for Lucky Future, but it's not before 1,000 has already fallen. So for GZ Academy, this is your opportunity. Knocking at the door. They were able to take down one as well. It's MZ and the Brigitte. Mellow in a lot of trouble. Fortunately for Lucky Future though, they don't use anything besides the Transcendence essentially after we called that, again, aggressive rally that was utilized. So they will have a chance to recontest this one more time. Yeah,
and probably even like one more fight is all they need, all things considering. Yeah. Third checkpoint's in sight. It's 25 seconds left. GZA just throwing at the Graviton Surge. Just a solo grab. Get out of my spawn.
The sound barrier was good enough to keep MZ alive at the very last second. Now responding as Lucky Future with a little bit of a combination of their own. And now that's Rose's taking down Sentry plus the mech of MG. So Lucky Future with a chance to move on in, but they've lost their Reinhardt. Will this be enough for GZA to continue to contest? Tizzy is also very low and Mellow sees it. He pushes right on in, and Lucky Future, they're going to hold this one. No one's going to touch in time. The overtime actually is here. Not sure who triggered it as we're trying to take a look to see who can potentially recontest. Sentry will at least reset the overtime, but you can see there's nothing but green pastures, well, I guess metal pastures between the payload and the next contestant from GZ Academy. And Lucky Future, they will secure the defense and they will find themselves up 2 maps to nil. Panda, what is happening?
Well, I was about to talk about it before that last fight even broke out too. What I've mostly been enjoying from 1,000 as far as a Reinhardt play is concerned is that he's not that over-aggressive style like we see most main tanks be slotted into that role. Take other Reinhardts that have been taking into that mantle in this region especially. This Reinhardt in particular, the way that 1,000 really utilizes the full kit just to keep his team safe is actually very impressive, and that's why Mellow's always high charge. He's using those bubbles very reactively rather than aggressively. We're in that DPS Zarya that we don't really like to see in that triple tank composition. Both these Zaryas are using that same tactic to one another. Just what you're seeing is a slightly more aggressive Reinhardt and Tizzy being punished, I would say, 2/3 out of the time, because Tizzy is still finding a lot of value in Reinhardt regardless. Still a very strong main tank. I can't underplay how strong of a play they're having today, but it's something more than that. Lucky Future, as far as a cohesive unit is concerned, are, again, firing off on all cylinders. Their backline, they're following up on Discord orbs, on top of keeping the front line alive by cycling out resources. In the middle of that fight, you would take a look at these names, you'd be like, well, I'm not too sure who these are. Well, here's where their names are about to be made for you all.
Learn them and love them. Again, Lucky Future, this is essentially a brand new roster for them. Nobody coming back from last season, and last season wasn't one that they, I'm sure, would have liked to have remembered, as they did not have the greatest of seasons ever. They did, of course, make the playoffs, but it was a very quick exit for Lucky Future. Meanwhile, for Guangzhou Academy, first ever effort as far as their name brand goes, and a lot of big names behind it, but they find themselves down 2 maps to 0 so far for Lucky Future. We'll be back after this break with map number 3. You don't want to miss it. Hello, everybody. Welcome back. IHOLDSHIFT, PkMnPanda. I think you're in that direction. I don't know which direction you are. You're one of my sides. And you're my right side man, my right hand man, and you might be my left. I'm not sure where you are, but I love the fact that you're here with me when we go to Horizon Lunar Colony. This is exactly where you want to be if you're Lucky Future, I suppose, as you're already up 2-0. And for GZ Academy, you need to find a way back into this one. How do you do it? That's the question.
You want to travel to space with a panda, that's how you do it. You never want to travel there alone. It's cold, it's dark, but how they're going to end up being able to do this is just well-coordinated play, all things considered, is that Lucky Future are beating them at that. But this is one thing that we've been seeing throughout the entire series. Rise has been finding these eliminations, Zenyatta v Zenyatta with these volleys, time and time again.
Yeah.
Guangzhou Academy now... Exactly. So now on Assault, Guangzhou Academy are able to finally reap the benefits of that pick, especially with their composition that they're setting up here. They have Tizzy on this Winston, so they're able to cleave through a lot of space in any which way that Lucky Future are trying to go through. And the name of the game is get as many resources while Lucky Future are rotating as possible. As you can see, Mello highlighting over the Edgelord himself. There's a Reaper in play.
I was about to say, this is another different look for Lucky Future. Just when you think you might expect something, they find something different. Wraithwalk able to come on through, and Mello will actually find the first elimination here for Lucky Future. Although Roses is very low, as you can see just how split Lucky Future was. They didn't quite approach this point together, and everybody else will, for Lucky Future, will have to at least disengage slightly for the time as they're waiting for some response to come on in. But you don't want to give up this positioning, because this is a very good spot to possibly engage the point on. 1,000 shield is getting taken down very quickly, as you see Mui just essentially putting all of that plasma right into the face of it. And Lucky Future will slightly disengage, just a soft reset, get yourself back to full, and try again. Yeah,
you saw right there, 80 charge, high charge at that.
Yeah.
Just sitting there, Mui just melting the shield. Finding those right-click spacing, this is on the previous patch, so those right-clicks are very big, very bursty when you are at that high charge, and you're that accurate as well. Dive coming through from Tizzy with the Reignition.
Oh, from downtown!
Just yeeted that in
oh
there.
My goodness, just tossing that thing 50 yards away. And that's there again, when you're that far away, are you securing any damage? The answer seems to be no, as MG's taken out a mech. Nero also dropped Since once again able to put a foot into the conversation as well. And now all of a sudden, Lucky Future, it didn't look good at all. That was such a good Graviton Surge. It sucked in at least 4 or 5, but there was no damage follow-up for Guangzhou Academy, and that'll be the point for Lucky Future all of a sudden.
MG was so close to the self-destruct too. You almost have to think that GZA wanted to hold on to that self-destruct or that Graviton Surge just for a little while longer. Good understanding that Lucky Future didn't have a Diva, so you can yeet that Graviton Surge as long as the map of Horizon Lunar Colony exists on. But, you know, if the follow-up's not there, without the movement capabilities, everybody outside of Winston that Tizzy was on, unable to get there in time. It was in the Primal Rage. It's the weakest part of Winston's kit. You get a lot of spacing and a lot of displacing, but it's just not enough damage. Those 3 hunks of arms don't just do enough. And then the second point assault's coming through. Lucky Future got a Death Blossom.
Barrier able to use. Yeah, there was a Death Blossom, but do they use it? There it goes. Nero able to find one, but that's it as he does get displaced at MG. I told you once, I've told you twice, I'll tell you a third time. If he puts a self-destruct sequence out, expect to see kills in the kill feed. He finds his 3rd triple of the day off the self-destruct. Again, credit to the team where it is merited, but MG keeps putting these self-destruct sequences in proper spots.
Yeah, a really good spacing. What the self-destruct really does is that it turns everybody from Lucky Future around to the side that they don't want to be on. More importantly, 1000. Not looking in the direction, taking your eyes off of Tizzy is how this combination comes through in full turn of the Earth Shatter that the main tank of GZA had been building up very quickly. Let's not forget that Tizzy swapped over to Reinhardt before that fight actually happened.
Yeah.
Set up that entire play off of that one hold. GZA on second point, cycling the resources very well. You're going to be able to have this Transcendence to probably use aggressively, knowing that Mello will not have the Graviton Surge.
That Transcendence was a little bit early, though. Graviton Surge doesn't find anything from Mui. He's been struggling a little bit on the Zarya. Not his traditional hero of choice, as he's more of one of those hit scan type players, but he does at least find the D-Mech onto Roses, so it is mech for mech, still essentially 5.5 on 5.5 until 1000 is able to get dropped away. Tizzy will find himself the pack and then try to come right back in. Here it comes. Oh, another nice Earth Shatter. But a Transcendence was essentially still being fully utilized. Now the Sound Barrier afterwards, Lucky Future will slightly be able to sustain, but again, they just don't have the numbers to follow up on any of these, so you wonder if those support ultimates were maybe mismanaged a bit.
Just a little bit. Lucky Future almost sustained themselves in the middle of that fight. They just barely missed it, but the one thing that they'll have on the advantage walking back in is that GZ Academy, and they'll have a Transcendence for Mello's Graviton Surge. If Mello is able to build enough charge to find the follow-up in there, along with main tank 1000, Lucky Future will find value, if not 33, maybe even 66% accrued on to the point B of Horizon Lunar Colony. Louis, however,
Surge
does have the Grav, yeah.
And he's able to find 3. Now they'll be able to find the follow-up. That was in a really good spot. It actually separated a lot of the team as well from Lucky Future, pulling a couple in, but not everybody. And nobody could really come to the day to save them. Again, Lucky Future with no support ultimates there. It's essentially, like you mentioned, a free Graviton Surge, meriting free kills, and that'll be one more little elimination under Roses just to kind of give the icing on the cake here for the defense. But they still have a long way to go. Still 2.5 minutes plus.
And Lucky Future are now stuck in that proverbial grocery store that they have to build up the 6-pack of ultimates until they feel comfortable pushing into this fight. But the one scary part is that Guangzhou Academy have been building up their ultimates as well, and they've been managing their resources properly on the second point thus far.
And again, Mui has kept himself near full charge. So yes, he just used a Graviton Surge, but he's 40% to the next. 5 ultimates for GZA. They'll start things off with the rally first. Mellow will put down a Graviton Surge, self-destruct up and down, will take down Tizzy. And so with no Reinhardt here, this Shatter was trying to be utilized, but doesn't find anything. MG able to respond with one of their own, though. So GZA, without the Reinhardt, are actually winning this fight outright, as Mui is sitting at 100% charge, will be able to push everybody back. And that's a really well-timed fight. Again, not having Tizzy on the board looked a little dangerous at one point in time, but again, MG able to separate out Lucky Future pretty nicely, and GZA once again will sustain on defense.
Yeah, and being able to use those resources again in a very composed manner and able to get those out of Lucky Future. And this is what I'm talking about. Lucky Future, they're missing their opportunity. They need to build as many ultimates as they can and try to quite literally explode onto point B and just disrupt Guangzhou, on top of finding value and eliminations at the same time, because now Lucky Future, they're scrambling with 1 minute and 14 seconds left. Mui has a Graviton.
And that's an easy cleanup. Essentially 1,000 will fall Mellow as well. Nearly a full team wipe as Mui has pushed himself on forward. Right near this little mini potato farm. And yeah, like you mentioned, now we're just at a minute territory. Since is nowhere near a Transcendence. And it just comes down to, again, can Recall save the day with just one sound bearer? It seems a little unlikely.
Not going to be able to get this rally in time to push in underneath it, so they're probably Lucky Future are probably going to have to use this sound barrier just to push in, just to survive through the choke. Because in a manner, yeah, I mean, just GZ Academy are finding so much value before Lucky Future even put one toe onto the point, which is why you see them wrapping all the way around this mega pack area. But to Mui, just again finding value and just keeping the main tank alive before the bash even comes through. Lucky Future are going to struggle in this last fight.
GZA, they have a Transcendence as well as a rally, and both rallies will be utilized early in this fight. Shatter actually is able to find 2 down on the ground, but MG was able to get the self-destruct sequence off once again, and MZ falls quickly. Now Tizzy with the Shatter of his own, he will take down Mellow in the backline, so without that Zarya damage for a time being, can GZA find any eliminations? Yes, they do. They take down 1,000. That's the pick that you want every day of the week. They'll find Mellow shortly afterwards since there's no shield there. This comes down to a self-destruct sequence that mostly just looks like fireworks up ahead, and GZ Academy, they'll sustain for a very long time, but it looks like the defense will reign supreme here on the first attempt on Horizon.
A nice 15-player elimination there at the end for Mui. He's absolutely going crazy on the Zarya. Doing a good job at that. Again, it doesn't always come down to that aggressive Zarya play, but just that timed bubble to keep your Reinhardt alive. Tizzy in this regard for GZA. Again, just fantastic play coming through, and that's what you expect to see, especially out of an academy team like GZA.
This is kind of like, it feels like almost like the momentum is starting to swing just a touch, as, again, this was a very straightforward approach to the second point, at least. Of course, the first one didn't go nearly as planned for GZ Academy, but that second point was, again, that just 3-3 composition on 3-3 composition, just mirror matchups across the board, and finally it feels like GZA have kind of shown off their experience so far. But again, Lucky Future have kept us at least on our toes so far, as they've come out of the gate, every single offense running something different. That has to be frustrating as a defense to try to play up against.
Exactly. And with that being said, they're still finding value within these fights. They're still finding eliminations. It's just the nature of the map, too. I mean, you can go ahead and say it. I mean, we all know and love I call it a solve for a reason, is because we know and love its true name of 2CP LOL. And that's exactly what you're seeing at the end of the day. Defender's favor.
Yeah, it's true name, you say.
It's true name.
I caught that, my friend. I caught that. But I mean, for Horizon, typically defensively, we see the weird things, or the more obscure things come out, like a Bastion or a Junkrat or things of that nature, like an Orisa. But that wasn't the case at all. Again, Lucky Future just says, again, just showcasing why Chinese Contenders has this kind of nomenclature of being the oddballs a little bit from what we typically see in the Western world, because they come forward and say, we'll find a way to make anything in the hero roster work, as that time it was a Reaper that came through and found the success that time for Lucky Future.
For point A, especially, the Death Blossom was so close that if they ended up getting that nano boost over to the Death Blossom at the same time, I wonder how much more value they would have been able to find. Very close and aggressive hold.
Lucky Future, again, just doing something different.
You don't need a strange composition to be interesting. I mean, you can end up holding very close, and it reaps a lot of benefits. Finding the early entry is early ult charge. At that Tizzy, 22%, 1,050% to that Earth Shatter. That could pay dividends later on, and give it about 30 more seconds.
Well, but this is a really scrappy fight on the low ground, and it will be a little Brigitte on Brigitte crime to start things off. MZ falling, and Yeah, there is a little bit to kind of worry about when it comes to this positioning. You put yourself on a low ground like that, and where do you retreat back to? There is nowhere good to fall back to, and now GZA are going to get a very quick capture. And again, there was no percentage at all for Lucky Future on the second point, so they're going to have a heap of time to try to find one tick of progress.
Yeah, and they're going to have maybe even one fight to try to deal with it all. Sense's Transcendence is going to be a praise the sun moment for Lucky Future inside this Graviton Surge. Nero's going to have the rally to walk underneath, and more importantly, Tizzy's going to get the Earth Shatter at the end of this. If blocking 1000s, they're going to end up getting this tick.
And they're actually not quite able to take Tizzy off of the track of MZ on that charge. Right back into it. Shatter comes through. Not going to find much as far as the stuns go, but is able to at least force back Lucky Future. And again, all they need is one tick of progress, and there are no frontliners in the way of that progress from coming through. Just Mellow, and he's one man against a million. Or I guess I should say one woman against a million. Zarya not quite able to stand up. Guangzhou, they'll finish off Horizon and finally get themselves a much-needed map, as they are now in prime position to potentially set up a reverse sweep. But still, Lucky Future hold the edge. 2-1 in maps so far, Panda.
Yeah, reached out in their back pocket, pulled out a shovel, dig deep. Here comes a reverse sweep, maybe. I mean, Guangzhou Academy, at the end of the day, they're still showcasing why we were able to talk so highly of them walking into this matchup. Lucky Future, however, are still playing very well. The one thing that GZ Academy are having up in this regard is their adaptability in the middle of their play. What we saw in their 3-3 matchup was an explosive play and trying to focus down the tanks, whether that was the Zarya or the Reinhardt, has now fully switched over. They started actually realizing the same thing that that you probably have noticed as well, is that MZ is playing a little bit too close to the front line, a little bit too far away from 1000 shield a lot of the time in a punishable manner. And that's where GZ Academy are finding success. If you'll notice, every single fight so far, or even in that those past couple fights on Horizon Lunar Colony, MZ was the one that got eliminated first for Lucky Future, and then the rest of GZA just collapsed on Lucky Future. Everybody else just got melted like a hot knife through butter.
Indeed. I thought for a second there with your shovel analogy, you're going to go Joe Dirt on me and say, life's like a garden, just dig it. I thought for sure you were going to go there, but not quite. Speaking of things we're going to go to, we're going to go to a quick little break. We'll be back with map 4, though. Lucky Future still up in the edge, 2-1 in maps. Continuing on when we come back. Don't go anywhere. Hello, you. Welcome back to this. This is a thing. Chinese Contenders coming at you guys. I'm IHOLDSHIFT. That's Panda. I still don't know which side you're on, so I'm just going to keep pointing to both of them. We've got one more map potentially. But again, Lucky Future was up 2-0, and Guangzhou Academy have started to bring things back. We're up into a 2-1. Junkertown is where we might finish things off, or maybe we'll decide to go to Game 5.
Junkertown is going to be the deciding factor here. Which team stands tall as we load into the map? Attackers, defenders, a little different on each side. Lucky Future taking that twist that we know and love. On defense first, they're taking out this double support composition that is a little bit unfavorable, especially what GZA have been running, which is that 3-3. They're going to have that Zarya. If you take a look at Lucky Future, no defensive ultimate, no sound barrier, no transcendence inside the Ana and Mercy composition, but damage boosting and anti-grenades, that's something that GZA need to be aware of.
And again, this is all a one-trick composition defensively. You're looking for halt hooks out of these frontliners, and you saw one attempt at that didn't quite hit in time. They're looking for MZ on the Brigida. Weren't quite able to quite track, or pardon me, it was Nero on the Brigida. It's looking at the wrong side for a second. There is not quite able to find it. Guangzhou, though, you can see they're taking their time, biding it, making sure they can pull out these cooldowns. Don't want to go into any too risky situations. We'll speed boost on in, and oh my goodness, this Orisa could not get on the high horse. Mimic that up with the back end of having a little bit of a biotic grenade in the face, and actually all of a sudden Lucky Future will actually punish that aggression, but and the 1000 was in a lot of trouble. You can see her trying to high horse it out of there, but not quite able to get away. Doesn't seem to make much of a difference, though. MZ able to help follow up, and Lucky Future will sustain off the res came through from recall.
High horse, Orisa, nice. You know, normally it's the horses that are supposed to do the stampede. This time it was a pair of goats. But, you know, it's Guangzhou, they're doing the right thing. Recognizing that the shield went down, it's obviously not going to be able to move along with Orisa, able to punish through, but what they're not realizing is the biotic grenade, again, the over-sustained healing, the damage boosting coming through from recall on Mercy, the damage that Roadhog brings to the table, and 2 snipers from MZ and Mello.
Okay, well, Mello will find a headshot into Nero. A pull-in will help things out for Roses, and MZ headshot again. Why not? Sonic arrow, regular arrow, storm arrow, doesn't matter. Just use alt. Just find the quiver, just dig deep into that, and get yourself another headshot. Mello able to find one on the Mui, and my goodness, this Lucky Future team is just so versatile, and Nero will actually make a switch Mui as well. And again, this happened before. I will talk about MZ losing that trade in a moment, but the fact of the matter is GZA has done this before where they say, okay, what we're going up against, we're not able to find much success, so we have to make desperate swaps. Fortunately, this one pays off the go.
Pays off the go just for a moment's time, but then Mello starts rolling, man. Those cogwheels have just been rolling all throughout. He's been finding headshots. 100% Widow's Kisses on top of it. He's been taking out Brigettas. Other snipers now as Nero is trying to go for the task of just directly taking care of one sniper, but there's still another, and that's a pair of dragons coming out.
Mello, though, will at least start things off against Nero. Supercharger also popped, and Mello, goodness gracious, you can't do that on stream. This isn't TOS legal. Able to find himself 3 in this exchange, and he'll actually pop the recon site. He wants to find one more. The infrared site for Mui, he's in a tough spot, and he knew his fate. I think he just accepted that one as it came through. He knew he has nowhere to go. Mello, though, been impressive. Infra site will fade away. GZA will make sure of that before they try to come out of spawn. They've already felt the full force of the Widowmaker sniper.
Yeah, it's kind of like if Anakin already knew his fate, knowing that Obi-Wan had the high ground the entire time. You know, it's one thing, MZ, again, finding the outdoor pick. Sentry's not going to have the resurrection for the next 30 seconds, but it doesn't matter because we're already back down to a 5v6.
MZ, Sonic Arrow, meets the face of an Omnic, and well, GZA, this is not quite working out, I think, the way you drew it up. And my conversation point comes down to, do you try to switch back again, Panda, if you're GZA?
Absolutely not. I mean, Tizzy went over to the Winston just trying to find any sort of effect. Again, the idea is to try to directly deal with these snipers is the approach that GZA are trying to go with. You can see it's just not working. They try to find any sort of footing in the air, on the ground. It's just not working. They get full porked out.
Dragons channeled up right down the payload. Someone's going to have to try to touch this, and Mello will find another headshot. And one right above him, too. That's a difficult shot. Able to still connect for the body, but not going to be able to find the full kill. Tizzy's back in the action, and he's trying to do as much as he can against Mello, who's just not going away. Wow. Roses will pull up the whole hog, and holy smokes, if it doesn't come from one fashion of the damage line, it'll come from somewhere else. As this is just, again, just absolute manslaughter happening live on stream. Supercharger will aid in that effort as well. MZ able to find another headshot. It's not the fact that it just kills, it's headshots time and time again. My mind is blown almost more than GZA's has been so far in this offense.
Why? Because of the headshots?
Yes, that's exactly what did you catch that reference?
I did. I'm along with you here, Chief. But you know what's most impressive along the way too is that the one difference along with as many DPS as we got to see from across both teams is what Lucky Future had over top of Guangzhou Academy. Was it the two supports, the Ana and the Mercy? You saw in that last fight that Roses was able to literally stand in the middle of that Dragon Strike. He didn't carry not a single one in the world. The Biotic Grenade ended up wearing away halfway through said Dragon Strike, but the healing that was coming through from Recall on Mercy was just static enough and just able to just sit there and just able to tank over the entire damage. And that's just one thing you have to be careful of. And you almost have to think, well, what would you end up doing to try to end up breaking out the bunker composition that was the double sniper over healing composition, I guess we'll call it, that Lucky Future ended up bringing out for Junkertown defense. And the answer, of course, was triple tank, triple support. It was just not always getting blind or getting tunnel vision, which is the problem that we saw GZA fall into all the way back on Control, way back on Lijiang Tower, all the way back in Night Market, just tunnel vigiling off of one target, not really giving the other ones light of day. There comes a point in time that you can bring this all the way back as a tablet old as time as Overwatch. At this point is that you can kind of look at the Pharah or look at one sniper and just ignore them, but there's going to be other pressure that you have to be concerned with. You can ignore one side of that composition, but you have to be able to effectively deal with one, if not two, parts of it at the same time. Lucky Future again with another interesting take on this composition, a little bit more understanding considering the map. 1,000 on the Orisa, Mellow on the Reinhardt, double shield. Set your sails, boys. We got a pirate ship taking off here in Junkertown.
And GZA thinks they're being cheeky, says, all right, we can pull out that composition you just pulled out, but who's going to break the shields? Plural shields here, as MZ will be funneling bullets into your face the entire time. That's a nice pull. We'll actually pull Orisa out for a small moment, but we'll be able to come right back, no problem. And already Mooey down, MG out of Mac and LF. They have got themselves nothing but green pastures in front. Orisa drowns away, and Lucky Future, I don't think we would have panned up this kind of a prediction at the beginning of it. Again, this GZA team has a very loaded roster, but Lucky Future just put everybody in Chinese Contender on notice. They handled this set pretty easily, to be honest with you, Panda.
Chinese Contenders, you have been put on watch. You have been put on watch, and that is Lucky Future willing to test anybody. I mean, that is insane. Absolutely insane. And that's what I said earlier. Like, on paper, you would never want to look at these two teams and be like, well, obviously, you know, GZA are going to win, because I haven't seen how the entire team would be facing off against each other. Lucky Future, sure, they came through previous teams that didn't do well in Contenders Season 3 of 2018, which was Laboratory and Restart, sure. Yeah. But now they're under Lucky Future. They have the backing, obviously, they have the coaching, and they have the sustain, especially in the middle of the fight, to push through and to take names such as Nero, Moe, Tizzy, MG. Those are names that have been around the talks of Contenders and even Overwatch for quite some time. That is a notice, and you definitely cannot undersell just how well of a team Lucky Future presented themselves to be today.
And it's not just that they're playing the 3-3 composition better than GZA. No. They're playing everything. Just about almost every hero was tapped into at some point in time for Lucky Future. But again, they will walk away as the 3-1 victors in maps. That's not all we have for you. Yeah, that's right. We'll be back for some more. We've got big time Brutal Gaming taking on Alter Ego. Again, these two teams with a little bit of a struggle at the end of 2018, looking to come back with the same kind of fire and fury that we saw from Lucky Future. Who will come up on top? We've got the second set coming up just after this.